Hi guys, my name is Scott Gailor. This is the Tone Junkie Chronicles. I'm going to go over today changing strings on a Floyd Rose tremolo. Just for the record, I am a Floyd Rose endorser and proud user. We'll be using Von York Calvinite strings, which I'm also an endorser of, and this particular guitar is equipped with a Stone Tone rock block. So now that all the endorsement stuff is out of the way, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. I've been playing guitar forever. I've had Floyd Roses on most of my guitars since, say, 1983. And if you're not used to changing strings on a Floyd, it can kind of be a pain in the ass. Let's just call it what it is. So the trick is, how do you do it? How do you learn to do it? What are the quick ways? I'm going to show you practical tricks that actually work. I know there's a lot of string change videos out there. This one's going to come from a guy who has done it, has had to do it on the fly, and a bunch of different ways. The first thing I'm going to cover is how to do one string at a time as opposed to doing all of them. That way it will make it easier. In the next video, we're going to go over taking them all off and setting it up so it sets through. And it's going to be pretty fun. It's going to be a great walkthrough for the Floyd guys, and don't be afraid of the Floyd. Once you get it all dialed in and set up, it does not go out of tune. It is amazing. You can flutter with it, beat it to death. It will not go out of tune, and all those cool tricks and things you can do is makes it worth the time it takes to learn how to do this. I promise this will be painless, and after watching this, you'll be able to set up your own Floyd, change your own strings. It'll be nice and simple. Let's go over the items that you're going to need to have handy to change strings. Number one, multi-tool. This is going to have your Allen wrench in it so that you can do the ends, your nut, everything you need to do so you can change the strings. That's number one. String cutter. Got to be able to cut the ball ends off the strings. Now, on this string winder, this is from Planet Waves. This has the string cutter on it and also a stretcher, but you need a string winder. That will pretty much cover everything you need to change the strings, so definitely have those things handy. A nice trick, I've had these for a long time. This is a tremolock, so that you can actually set it underneath the bridge as you're changing the strings. It helps keep it from diving down and doing different stuff. I know they've been reissued. I'm not sure who's carrying them now, but you can also do the same thing with a paint stick wrapped in the kind of like the rubber type material you'd get to line your shelves with. And there's a couple other tricks you can do, but I've got a couple of these I've been keeping around. I've had them forever, and it's a great tool. So here we go. I'm going to dive into single string change first. All right, so the very first thing you want to do is get out your string. This is a regular Von York Calvinite 10 gauge. And the very first thing you're going to want to do is cut this ball end off. So cut it off. In this case, I'm going to throw it over here so I don't lose it. Now, we're only going to do one string at a time on this, so if you're new to Floyd Roses, this is the best way to do it until you get used to it. So you're going to unloosen the nut. And in this case, I'm going to take it off and keep it close by. Take your string winder. Loosen just the one string. I'm going to take my headstock tuner off for a second here. Pull this out. You're going to come off from the string retainer if you're using one. I'm going to use the arm to push down so I can access this. And I'm loosening this up just enough so I can get the string out. A lot of string companies now will allow you to send the strings in to be recyclable. Some music stores will do that. Some of the big box stores have a drop-off point. If not, you can look up. There's also a couple companies that take them and make bracelets out of them to raise money for charities. So something to look into, but take the string, set it aside. Now your freshly cut string is going to be easy. Again, you're going to move the bridge up, place it into the block area, push the block back, make sure it's centered, and pushed all the way down. Then we are going to quarter turn past hand tight. You don't need to go all Hulk on this and, rah, and break it through. Just a quarter turn past hand tight, nothing crazy. Now the fun part. So if you're on a gig and you break a string on a Floyd Rose, you are pretty much screwed because they're done, and if you don't have another string, you're in a lot of trouble, especially if your trem floats. What I like to do is put on as many wraps as I can. That way I can always stretch the string back out to get away with more room. So in this case, since I don't have, this is a reverse headstock, I don't have these to count as gaps. I use about the equivalent of 2 tuners, maybe 2.5 tuner spots. So I'll just trim that off. Same thing, I'm going to set this over in my pile of recycled strings. Now this is a nice easy trick. I know some people like to use the in and the up and the bend. I don't do that, never done that, not a fan of it. Doesn't mean it's not right, just not for me. I set it in once, give it 1, sometimes 2 wraps, bring it underneath the string retainer, hold it in place. Give yourself a nice angle. While we're doing that, we're stretching the string the same time we're putting it on. And keep that tension on there so you're stretching as you're going, stretching as you're going. Nice and simple. Same time as you're not worried about the guitar being completely out of tune because the other strings are still locked. Before you go to tighten it down, grab right around the first 3 frets, take one finger, and just give it a pull like this. You want to get it nice and stretched out. You want to stretch the string as much as possible. Now, even though you just are only putting the 1 string on, you've got the A string loose as well in this case, so you're going to stretch that string too. Even out your fine tuners so they're where you want them to be. In this case, I'm going to re-put on my headstock tuner. This is a chord pitch black, I think. And this guitar is tuned to E flat, so I'm just going to tune this down to E flat. And there you go, no harm, no foul, and nothing crazy. So some of you will be saying, well, wait a minute, you're tuning to C. This guitar, yes, I'm tuning to C sharp because I have a D tuner on it, so that when I do go back and put the D tuner back in, it will go back up to pitch. So in this particular case, since it has that, we're going to tune this to C sharp, but you would tune it normally, whatever you tune to, whether it be 440, 432, which I know is the big cool thing right now. I'm a 440 guy myself, but there you go. So we're going to tune it down a half step. Going to give it one more good stretch. Now the cool trick is you can do this across all 6 strings if you're new to changing strings on a Floyd, and you don't have to change anything. You're done. You're ready to go. You'll go ahead and re-put on the blocks right here. Another trick to remember, this looks like a little roof. So you want the angle to go like this, and it faces down the fretboard. So we want to put this on so the little rooftop is going this way, and the straight line is pointing this way. Otherwise, it won't properly lock the string in place. Take your Allen wrench, put it back in. Same thing, quarter turn past hand tight. You don't want to get all crazy with it. There you go. Oops, push my D-tuner back in here. Hold on a second. And there we go. Nice and simple. So single string change, you're ready to go. Not a big fuss, nothing crazy with it. And if you do that per each string, you won't have to reset anything up. Now, something to keep in mind, this guitar is set up and intonated for 10 through 46 Von York Calvinite strings. So as long as I swap that out, whether it be an E string, an A string, a D string, doesn't matter, I won't have to reset the intonation. It won't change the tension on the bar. It won't change anything. You'll be good to go, done. But if you decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to use D'Addario, or I'm going to use Ernie Ball, or I'm going to use a different brand, more than likely you're going to have to set up your intonation because each string company is slightly different. And you definitely don't want to say go from 9 gauge to 10 gauge or 10 gauge to 11 gauge because that's going to change your tilt on your trem. It's either going to pull it back or pull it forward, and you're going to have to reset up your guitar, which can be a pain in the butt. And since we're trying to do a single string in this, you want to keep it as easy as possible. So that's it. That's what we call our single string Floyd theory. Nice and simple, 1 string at a time, no fuss, no muss, easy. You could do 6 strings that way in probably 10, 15 minutes tops, and you're ready to go. You don't have to reset your bar or anything else. So this is Scott. I'm signing off for the Tone Junkie Chronicles. Big shout out and thank you to Floyd Rose, Stone Tone, and Von York for the Calvinite strings.